Hi, it's Thursday again. Can't believe how fast the weeks go. I'd like to talk today about something I read this morning and reflected on. One of my favorite authors is Brian McLaren. He's a person who's just absolutely amazing in saying things that are pointed but poignant as well. And I normally don't read on these videos as much, but I'll do more reading today, and I apologize for that in the sense that it's different, but I want to make sure that I get the words right. Brian McLaren was quoted in Richard Rohr's daily email from the Center for Action and Contemplation. Put together some of Brian's words, and I'll just start in. He says, maybe this time of global pandemic is also an opportunity for us to become enlightened about some other viruses that have been spreading and causing even greater damage without being acknowledged. Social and spiritual viruses that spread among us from individual to individual, from generation to generation, and are not named. Read that again. Maybe this time of global pandemic is also an opportunity for us to become enlightened about some other viruses that have been spreading and causing even greater damage without being acknowledged. He talks about these kinds of viruses that have been spreading. Social and spiritual viruses that spread among us from individual to individual, from generation to generation, and are not named. And he goes on and says, we don't organize against them because we haven't named them. We don't organize against them, and so they continue to spread and cause all kinds of sickness and death. Then he names some of these diseases or pandemics. Social and spiritual viruses like racism, white supremacy, human supremacy, Christian supremacy, any kind of hostility that is spread based on prejudice and fear. And I thought about the different kinds of these viruses. He mentions racism, white supremacy, human supremacy, Christian supremacy, and I can imagine also political supremacy or Islamic supremacy or atheistic supremacy, humanistic supremacy, national supremacy, intellectual supremacy, or the supremacy of having more degrees or more knowledge than someone else, or developmental supremacy, all these different diseases that go from generation to generation, individual to individual, and they go unnamed. So I reflected on it, and in my journal I wrote that believing and saying that I am not racist, I am not supremacist or prejudiced in any way negates my potential for healing. But then I imagine, on the other hand, if I recognize that I carry all kinds of infections in me, passed from individual to individual, from generation to generation, if I recognize that I have these infections in me, and then move on to discover specific outbreaks of those infections in my heart and life, with humbly seeking out diagnosticians, those who can see it in me, maybe specialists that say, hey, I'm especially sensitive to racism or white supremacy or Christian supremacy or whatever supremacies there are or prejudices. So diagnose, how does this infection show itself? What kind of outbreak or what kind of cancerous type growth, how does that affect me? What kind of symptoms do I show, but what kind of causes do I have? And for that, I need diagnosticians. Rather than needing to push back and defend myself, just say, I humbly listen. I humbly seek to help you help to let you help me see these things that are in my life. And then go on to confess it to myself and others. Say, yes, this is the disease that has taken hold in my life, and then I can seek treatment. When I do these things, then this can bring about maybe healing, but more likely, I said, ongoing treatments for this manifestation of the disease. And I concluded by saying, I dream of a time when more of us, beginning with myself, no longer imagine or say that we are not infected. Instead, I hope to see more and more of us openly confess that we are indeed affected by these pandemics, so that we can receive help in naming, understanding, and treating the ways the diseases manifest themselves in each of us and the groups we live in. Now, I know and understand that this takes a certain amount of humility. It takes a certain amount of even self-esteem to say, I'm basically okay. I don't have to defend myself. I don't have to react against. I can humbly listen and discover through the help of others how to diagnose and treat these pandemics. So I would encourage us all to listen, including myself, listen more than defend. Seek humility more than pride. And be careful about our language to say, I am not a racist. I am not a supremacist. I have no prejudice in my life, is to negate the health, the growth, the maturing that we can experience, and the ability to reach out to others. A little heavy this morning, but that's where I am. Let's ponder on these things and maybe listen to our own thoughts and the words that we use. Let's start a new movement of seeking diagnosis, treatments, and healing. Have a great week.